Tonight on the Guy at the Movies podcast, we are joined by Attack on Show, and we have a lot to talk about. Let's get started and waste no time after this.
Everyone is part of the family at this point.
It didn't do my fan fiction idea that I had, so this movie was garbage.
What is this? You are a monster beyond all belief.
Put them all in the thing and let them do the thing, you know what I mean?
How? You're lucky to have me back.
You're never gonna get 60 million people because you're not a Super Bowl. Shut up!
So chaotic.
Welcome to the Guy at the Movies podcast with Joe and Sean. That is our old name. We are just the Guy at the Movies podcast now. Still can't get past it because it just rolls off the tongue.
We're
Sean,
still with Joe and Sean. I mean,
It's
that's
true.
totally okay. Like, you're
It's
not
true.
lying.
You're true. Yeah. Well, with Sean, without Sean. Sean, hello. How are you?
I'm doing just wonderful. I just got off a fresh math tutoring sesh. As you can see, there's a quadratic function behind me. Great for
And
radio.
that will be part of our podcast tonight.
Definitely
We're doing
quadratic
function.
movies.
Scooter just bit you in the leg, but you're still living, so that's good.
Just barely. Just barely.
Just barely. We are also joined tonight by Attack on Show. Rob, how is it going? Jeff, how are you doing?
Real good, thank you.
Yes, this is fantastic.
Yeah,
Excited
appreciate
to
the
be on
invite.
here.
You're the
We
guy.
are
You're the dude.
very excited. Yeah, we're very excited to have you guys on. We just started talking recently, and I came across your stuff and was like, I love this. We have to have them on the podcast.
Thank
So I
you.
reached out a couple weeks ago and then told Sean, I'm like, hey, by the way, we're having 2 guests this week. Have fun.
I was in no way prepared for this, so you guys are not welcome by me.
Oh, no. All right. That's fair.
You're usually not welcome by
By
many.
anybody.
so-
This is a change then. At least half of us are on here.
We love it. Absolutely love it. So we want to dive into what we've been watching, the news, trailers, all that fun stuff.
Sure.
But first and foremost, we want to get to know you guys a little bit. Tell us where Attack on Show came from, how you guys know each other.
So Attack on Show, I'll start from where that came from. It basically launched. We were huge fans of G4 Network back in the day when Attack of the Show was on air. The original rendition, I can't say too much about the new version, but however, because when G4 shut down, it was kind of one of those things that we were fans of that. We both would sit around, we worked together, and we'd sit around and we would argue about movies all the time in front of people, and just everyone always said, why don't you record it? I had kind of a little bit of a film history with editing, and I had the equipment and stuff, and said, well, let's try this out. And when we came up with the name, it was supposed to be a tribute to Attack of the Show because it was no longer around, and we kind of wanted to keep that essence, that feeling of what Attack of the Show used to be. Now we just get accused for trying to steal its image from everybody.
Yeah, no, really.
It's like we were fans. We tried, we have to clear this up with people because we constantly get attacked, and it's like, no, we didn't want people to forget
Which
about
is
Attack of the
appropriate
Show
with the name.
Yes.
Yeah, it's constantly being attacked and being attacked.
Yeah,
on show.
which
So,
is
yeah,
fine.
works.
But
It all works.
according to
You asked for it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
with the new setup, I think we might be able to outlast the current rendition of Attack
absolutely.
of the Show anyway. I think our
That's
numbers are about par.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just kind of transitioned from there. It really kind of both started off with us just sitting on the couch watching videos on a big screen and arguing or discussing them with each other and listening to music and things like that. And
It got too many stains, so we had to go to the green screen. Well, I meant liquor.
we will not ask any more questions about that.
all right, so we're done now? All right, good.
We're
Yeah.
done now. That is it. Thank you for
So
being
we
here.
started a fans only page.
Now that's the only way we make money.
Listen, no hate. However you
Oh,
make
so
your
we're
I
not
was about to I was
Nice.
about to correct you and say that it's OnlyFans, but then that
I was too.
Oh, you're on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fans only is the one where you have to give people money and then
Yeah.
you show pictures of your feet.
Wow, that's it. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
We've been doing this all around.
That's so funny to hear though. The way that I started off with Guy at the Movies was I was living by myself and just seeing a lot of movies, and I'm like, oh, I want to start putting my stuff out there, and then it kind of just blossomed from there. And I was doing during the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing some one-on-one Instagram lives, and I think Sean, were you my second Instagram live?
I was one of them, yeah.
Yeah, and then I was like, after it, I was like, I just had a lot of fun shooting the shit with him and talking movies. hey, Sean, you want to do the podcast? And then after the podcast, Sean, do you want to be the regular co-host?
It was one podcast, and then it was a very, very rigorous trial of 13 seconds later after the recording. You want to be the co-host? I was like, okay.
Yeah. Aw.
It was pretty quick, but
Where are you
we're
guys
happy with
located then? Where you guys are located? Are you even near each other?
No.
that. No, which is the
No.
funny part.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm in Connecticut. He's in Philly.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
I'm outside of Philly. But we did last
Are those
year.
far
we
from
met-
each other?
But there are people actually living in Connecticut.
I guess. So.
No,
Are you familiar with the song by Jesus Christ and the Four Horsemen?
No.
Oh, okay. Look that up. Look that up. You need to put a link to that. It's by
I wasn't aware they were
Jesus
musicians.
H. Christ and the Four Horsemen. They have a song about Connecticut and what it's for.
Driving through. I know that.
no,
Occasionally, there's a few
give it
people that
a
like, roll out.
Connecticut's for fucking. It's a great song, actually. Yeah.
Oh.
Nobody
okay.
told
I
me.
swear to God. Yeah, you gotta look it up. Fantastic song. Yeah.
Sean,
Yeah.
didn't your wife just walk in?
Yeah. Tell her, yeah.
She just walked by.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sean, I meant to tell you this, by the way, too. I have been listening to a lot of random office podcasts and stuff for some reason because I have to keep revisiting that because, I'm one of those, that meme that says like anxious people watch the same shows over and over again because it's comfortable. I'm like, oh, it makes sense. But this is a really weird aside. But if you ever watch The Office and the episode where John Krasinski, where Jim proposes to Pam,
Yeah.
had to build that like fake rest stop. Sean, do you know what it's based on?
The rest stop or the scene?
The rest stop?
What is it based on? Connecticut?
A rest stop in Fairfield, Connecticut.
That sounds. I was gonna say it looks familiar. I mean, we're known for our rest stops. Literally known for our rest stops.
I was like, oh god, I gotta tell Sean, and I just remembered right now. So that's how we roll here. Well, guys, where are you located?
Connecticut
Yeah,
side.
that
Welcome
should
to
be-
Connecticut. We're known for our rest stops.
Yes.
Where are you guys located?
We're just outside of Detroit, Michigan.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Hockey fans or no?
Yes.
Okay.
I am. Yes. Hockey.
Good. Good.
it was easier in the 90s.
I was gonna say sometime now.
For both of us.
True. Yes.
It's been rough. All right. Well, let's dive into some of the stuff that we wanted to cover tonight. And first, I want to talk to you guys. Sean, we didn't talk about this last week because we opted for a different trailer, but we have to talk about the Wednesday trailer. This is the new limited series. It's a regular series coming out on Netflix from Tim Burton. I am pretty pumped for this, but guys, I know you joked around before we got started that you have a take on this. I want to know what you guys on Attack on Show think of this Wednesday series that's coming down.
First?
You can.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand why we're doing this. I'm not. Who's this for? There's multiple. Like, who's gonna watch this? I feel like it feels very Harry Potter-esque, but you know what they should have done. And I'm gonna be really open. This is kind of what I was thinking about. Like, it's not sexy enough. I'm sorry, it's just not. Like, it just.
How old is Wednesday?
Well, exactly. She's like, I'm not trying to be disgusting.
I don't get where you're going with this.
I'm just saying, like, you have this incredible opportunity, and it's like a kid's show. I don't know. It feels like Harry Potter, but
I'm
It
not.
has that feel.
Yeah,
It definitely has that feel.
I think Addams Family was always a kid show. The classic was always family friendly to watch. I think the new renditions were geared towards family. So I think this is kind of going. I feel like the was it Lemony
Snicket
style Tim Burton.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's where they're going with this. Tim Burton's hard to count out. I think visually, obviously, the guy's always been amazing. I do kind of have to say I don't know how excited I am, just because I'm curious. I feel like Addams Family back in the day worked because they could be a little risky. There wasn't so much sensitivity.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Same with
Yeah.
the later renditions that came out today. I'm curious how safe they're going to have to be without offending people. If it will work in today's world is where I'm curious.
I don't see the dark side of this at all. Really, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It looks dark, and visually it's dark.
She threw piranhas in the pool.
Why exactly? That's
And a
exactly
piranha is just one guy's
my point.
penis.
It's kind of yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will start. I will just tell you that I was not interested at all. I am now curious. I think you just said that you're a little curious as to what this is going to be. I'm more curious than not now. But Sean, what's your take on this?
I mean, I'm just psyched that Tim Burton is like finally doing a movie with like real sets and like real humans. Like I feel like he's just been like CGIing it up the whole time.
Yeah.
So on one hand, that's great.
Point.
I think like who this is for, a lot of people are sharing it in at least like my bubble and circle. And I think that there's like a YA audience there. I do agree that this is literally another iteration of Addams Family. We are not too far away from the god awful cartoon films that like they made two, I think, which is still trying. I'm trying to figure. I'm not okay with it yet that happened. I mean, I think that some of the casting in this is fun. I mean, Jenna Ortega hasn't missed yet, in my opinion. And then we got Luis Guzman as Gomez, which like is strumming up controversy, but shouldn't, because like once I saw him, I was like, that's the comic proportion of Gomez. This is lovely.
See, he's the one I'm most iffy on for the casting.
I kind of felt the same way, but
he didn't fit the bill. I don't know. I love him as an actor. Like you go back to Out of Sight. Like I've always found the guy like he's been great. But this, like, I think it's just the visuals of the family together and him sitting in there was the only thing that stuck out to me. Like,
My question is, I kind of don't feel like you'll see a lot of them.
Yeah,
I feel this is going to be way more oriented towards the kids, and
yeah.
And
it's quite a challenge to go after Christina Ricci because she did Wednesday.
She's
amazing.
We're used to the '90s show or the '90s movies, right? So that was a high bar, essentially, in my opinion. I think they're good. The first one, at least, is a great movie, and we have a very different Gomez. But I think based on what Gomez brings to the table, the character historically, I think this is a little closer to what Gomez would
the original vision. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm into it.
But does that work? Like I said, I think this current generation remembers the movies more than the series or the original vision. So I think that's what a lot of people's bar is going to be set at with who's going to be watching Netflix today. Is that
well, do they though? Because here, I mean, this is the Netflix generation. And, not to assume ages on this podcast, but I think that we all grew up with the 90s 92 movies, but, we're talking about what?
That's I saw the dinosaurs underneath it or something like that you have like as a painting. I thought you were pointing at that.
Oh, no, that's that's the Star Wars Holiday Special painting. That's there
goes
appearance. Yeah,
that's how old you are. Okay, got it. But I will tell you the interesting piece to this that kind of tells me where this is going is that this show was created by Alfred Goff and Miles Miller, who are best known for creating Smallville. So if you want to talk about like the direction that this serialized show will probably go, it's going to play into the school days and, all that stuff and kind of the coming of age of Wednesday. That's in their wheelhouse. Whether that's going to work today, like it did for, the Superman property back in 2021, who knows? Well, not 2021, 2001. Who knows? But I feel like that's where they're going with it.
Yeah, hopefully they let her be evil, like take the opposite turn of not letting Superman fly and let Wednesday actually go. But I am worried. Like, is she, like you say, coming of age, is this going to be a whole Wednesday turning into Barbie girl story? And I don't know. Like, will she be cheerleading? Like, that's not what anyone wants to see. But I'm worried with this preview. It looks like they're throwing her into the school and she's going to, I don't know. I'm really
going to murder the cheerleading team.
What's that?
He's going to murder the cheerleading team.
I don't see that where this is going. I don't know that they can get away with it because I think the idea is she does that to the swimming team, gets thrown into a different school and has to learn new things. And that's where, like I said, I don't know that they can be as
the whole line
edgy.
Where she's like, "Do you want to come and pretend to be social?" type thing. I feel maybe that's kind of a pondering point on like a setup for what it's going to be about.
I
think that makes sense. I will tell you that Christina Ricci is on the cast list on Wikipedia. So who knows whether it's Wikipedia. So
there's an Addams Family multiverse. She's going to come back older.
I'm into that.
I'm done. You guys have a good night.
Sold. All right, guys, we like to dive into what we've been watching. We've been talking about a lot of shit. But what we've been watching, I figured we could all start off, and I'm assuming you guys watched the first episode of She-Hulk. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. All right, so let's start talking about that, because this is another one that I will tell you that this took a very different turn when it released last week, because I had watched the first 4 episodes the week prior and did not love them. However, I will tell you that the first one was my favorite of what I watched. I did not love them, and I was very vocal about that. And then when all the reviews were coming out, I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, people actually really like this.
All those people mad at Frank are all friends with him over She-Hulk.
Which is the funniest part. It's the funniest part. It's literally the same people that are like, "This is too woke," and then on the other side, they're like, "You just hate that it's a woman She-Hulk." I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, choose a lane." But Sean,
both are subscribed.
Yeah, right. Sean, let's start off with you. What did you think of episode 1 of She-Hulk? Because you're critical of Marvel.
I mean, this is one of those things where I just saw these reactions on the internet, and it was either like, this is one of the worst pieces of trash I've ever seen, or it's waiting for Godot. And it's neither of those. It was sort of this like fun little thing. It was like eating cotton candy. I was enjoying like the two Hulks fighting. It's like, I was just kind of like, oh, I like kind of had like a slight smirk on my face while watching it the whole time. It was a slight smirk show.
Yeah.
Now, from Joe's perspective, he says it goes downhill. I'm like, well, that's not great. I mean, like, this wasn't that high of a hill to be on.
I don't think it will go up. But.
Yeah, it's like, so I don't know. I mean, like, I'm sticking with it. It looks like it's fun. This was a gigantic intro episode, so it's tough to really judge anything. This was a literal, like, even though there's no such thing as these when it comes to a Disney Plus Marvel show, this was a literal pilot. Like, this was something where it was like we're trying it out. Like, let's introduce what's gonna happen, and then what did they sell to Disney Plus? No, but I just think with this, I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do with the next few. The humor kind of landed. It was just one of these things where there's the meme of the guy that just kind of sits at his computer and goes, huh, clever. And that's exactly where I thought of with this. I was like, it's enjoyable. I'm definitely going to stick with it. But, it's definitely, I think there's a far amount of people that need to chill out everywhere.
I'll tell you that what's interesting with this first episode is that it was originally slated to be the 7th or 8th episode. Like, they wouldn't explain how she got her powers and stuff until late in the game.
I can see that. Yeah, that's fun.
But then when you see the second episode, the question that you'll probably ask as well is,
why am I watching
what the that too. but what were they going to start with? Because it's really interesting.
Okay.
Wow.
I love Tatiana Maslany in it, though, and I really like the character, so I have high hopes that it's going to pull itself together. But what about you guys? What did you think of the first episode?
I'm getting really frustrated with what Marvel's doing with Hawk. I hate, I feel like they've just wasted this character for so long. And I know this is more authentic to the original material, but I still get frustrated. And, we made the meme where it was, the office meme of like, corporate wants you to find the difference of these picture. And I put Ray and She-Hulk on there and said they're the same picture. And I got that feeling watching this again, where it's like so easy how they made She-Hulk with just a couple drips of blood. But of course she can control her powers when she gets mad. Of course she can do yoga better. Of course she can fight just as good. I just get kind of like, there was no learning curve or anything in this. And I get kind of frustrated with that aspect of it's just, this will probably, I don't know which woke crowd's going to be upset by this, but it does get frustrating to me that like you see this with Disney and it just seems on repeat with Disney. And when they took over Marvel, it's frustrating to just see that aspect of it where it's like Hawk has just become a clown. He's not even a real character anymore. And then you bring She-Hulk in who can just do everything he can. I can do anything you can do, but better. Like, it's just, it's redundant. It's the same Disney story, I feel like, every time. And then one last thing before Jeff, I just want the breaking fourth wall really bothered me because that, like, save that for Deadpool. That should only be a Deadpool click, which I know it's there, but I didn't want to see that.
I will correct Rob with starting off that She-Hulk broke the fourth wall.
I know.
A decade before Deadpool ever did.
I know it was there, but I like the idea.
I actually really enjoyed the show. It's one of those things I say I haven't watched it with my 10-year-old, and you kind of get it sometimes when you sit down there and you go, oh, this isn't for me. This is for him. That's why they're watching it, because he's watching this, not me. I could sit there and tear it apart, but it's kind of a different perspective. You sit there and watch with a 10-year-old, he's having a great time watching it. You're like, well, yeah, I'm having a good time watching this too. So you can suspend some of that stuff. I understand what you're saying, but I have to give a lot of credit to the going back to the original comics. When I originally started reading She-Hulk when it came out, I was picking up and going, okay. So I really enjoy it.
Does she know she's in a comic world breaking the fourth? That's what I'm curious where I get like.
She kind of does. Like, she doesn't know she's there. It's just part of her character. She'll jump from a frame to a frame, and she'll be walking from one frame into the next frame. Things like that. And I can see where a lot of that could probably take place.
Because Hawk even picked up on it. Like, Hawk even acknowledged she talked to the fourth wall, which...
It's a trope in the comic as well.
Yeah.
It's where you'll see one of the characters will follow, like, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
And it'll be ignored from that point. I enjoyed all of that. I think it's fun. I think it's a lot of fun. I think some of the stuff with Marvel right now that they're doing is fun, but you got to kind of remove myself from it, realize they're also rebooting. They're completely and absolutely rebooting. Like, you finished at Avengers Endgame and cleaned up all the stuff, and now we're introducing all new characters, basically a whole new game at this point. And it takes time, you know?
It's going to take more than 4 episodes, according to Joe.
Yeah, no, I was going to Joe, you really kind of disappointed me now, because I'm like, damn.
But again, there's other people that saw those 4 episodes and said the complete opposite. It was like me and 2 others fighting the good fight on Twitter, where, all good things could die. I will say 2 things. One is I agree with you, Rob, on how they kind of jump in the development of some of their characters. They do it a lot with, like, all of a sudden, like, she knows how to fight. And they do it with other characters as well. In other shows. Sometimes that's a little frustrating. I did read when I was diving into some comments today, someone went on this tear about how, like, in the comics, Bruce Banner has more trauma in his background, so that's why he's wrestling with, like, more internal stuff, whereas she is a lawyer and has it more together. But then it just got really interesting, because I'm a lawyer and I don't have it together. But I can tell you that right now. But there's that piece. The other thing I read, and I actually believe is true, the stuff with the Hulk, I know that's been a big criticism, and I had the same criticism, but I read something about how the rights to the Incredible Hulk are still with Universal and all that stuff. So in order for them to play with Hulk as much as they do, they have to have him as Smart Hulk.
Yeah.
Because technically that's a different Hulk. That's a different character. So, I mean, that's not defending, because then, like, what we've seen more times than not is, Smart Hulk and Silly Hulk and stuff like that. Yeah. But I'm hoping that with this whole thing with the ship from Sakaar, is it Sakaar? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That came down. I'm hoping that leads towards, like, a World War Hulk or something, and we get Rageful Hulk coming down the road. Who knows?
And I one other part of it is that it's like Bruce Banner has the trauma, but also She-Hulk has had to, like, she sort of explains this in a monologue, and it's quite on the nose, but she explains how she's had to, like, how to bury her anger as, like, a woman rising up in a professional setting, and so she's able to sort of, like, handle, like, the, like, powers a little bit more, and she's able to, or not powers, but the curse, and handle, like, the beast and the anger stuff.
The curse.
It was I guess, I don't know. I mean,
the castle's cursed.
I couldn't think of the right word for it, but it was that was the part of it where I was just like, okay, this is a very on the nose statement. I know exactly what they're trying to say here, but it does, like, have, like, a fun little, like, yada yada to get to, like, where she is now.
Yeah. I think that's what's funny is, like, it is definitely getting that woke. This apparently is going to be my theme tonight. It is getting that approach of, like, oh my God, this is woke. And I think there's a difference between, like, being woke for the sake of being woke and then actually nailing what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
And I think they nailed it with this. I think.
And I hate to say, like, I don't even think it's a matter of being woke. I just feel like it's redundant. Like, I feel like Disney is just kind of repeating this format. And that's where
are we talking about the live action adaptations of animated movies? Redundancy. Got it.
They never do anything
live action Lion King that's computer animated, not drawn animation. Totally different.
Yeah, totally different. Disney has a lot of original ideas, guys. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's what we needed in Lion King, looking exactly like real lions, scaring the shit out of us.
And Beyonce, lions attack. I'll never forget that. I'm like, oh, she just collected a paycheck. Let's move on a little bit. I want to talk real quick about one that I have, not that I have been watching, one that I watched 2.5 months ago at this point, but it comes out this Friday. I was part of the virtual press conference for it about a month ago, which is why I saw it so early. But this is Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba in 3,000 Years of Longing. I've called it something different like every time I've gone to write a review. This is a really fascinating movie. I saw it called or referred to as Aladdin for adults, which is kind of funny. But it's essentially where Tilda Swinton's character is a scholar of story and mythology, and she is in Istanbul, finds essentially a genie lamp. Idris Elba comes out and tells all of his stories, and she's really like questioning, like, should I give into these 3 wishes? Should I not, based on everything she knows? It sounds funny. It is George Miller, so visually and musically, it is frenetic but great. And it's very visually hypnotic as well. I was very engrossed in it, especially the performances from Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton, and their conversations. They're just they just hook you, and they're kind of mesmerizing until, Sean, it gets to the third act.
Third act problem. I haven't seen it yet, and I'm psyched.
It kind of just like completely like hits the brakes and takes. It focuses in on like the romantic aspects of it, and it just completely lost all of the power for me. Everything that I had enjoyed about it up until that point was gone, and it just kind of ended. And I was like, "What the hell just happened?" And I remember leaving it. A couple of the other people that had seen it said the same thing. They're just like, "Where did he like run out of ideas? Did he not know how he wanted to wrap this all up?" And it's a shame because it could be a great movie. But it's really the tale of 2 movies there. Do you guys have any interest in seeing this or know anything about it?
The trailer I watched, I was interested, but I got to tell you, just from the trailer, I was concerned about the third act, just because the trailer doesn't die. Like the trailer seems to just rely heavily on the visuals, not so much on a story, and it just almost seems like a simple plot. But look at all these great visuals. So I was kind of curious how that would go. It would have been like a streaming watch. I would not have gone to the theaters, I would say. Like it wasn't enough there to say I'm going to run to the theater and see it. But
yeah, not to repeat myself, but this is another one of those who is this for? Like who goes and says, I'm going to put money behind this because so-and-so is going to watch this. And I kind of look at that and I'm like, who is that? I don't know.
George Miller.
Yes,
George Miller.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just don't, I guess that's kind of it seems very blasé, kind of out there. I don't know if, anybody run into the theaters for that.
But
film.
Idris has his shirt off. So.
No, I don't know who's he.
Idris is having a very interesting 2 weeks in the movies.
Yes.
in this.
Yes.
Sean, is this your Thursday watch?
This is going to be my Thursday watch. Yes, I'm definitely checking out 3,000 Years. Oh yeah. Oh come on. Well, it was either at our break-in, which I also really want to see.
It's a really good movie.
I'm going to be on a pod from 6 to 7, so I gotta go for the later time.
Oh, these early screenings.
I know.
Breaking is
Breaking. Yeah.
a really good movie as well that I completely forgot changed its name. So I kept seeing this. I'm like, why does this look familiar? But when it was at the festivals, it was called something else that is completely slipping my mind. It was a number.
This is not a remake of Breaking Electric Boogaloo.
I'm really disappointed.
Yeah,
they have no idea what we're talking about. They have no idea what. Yeah,
but apparently
it's not an 80s.
I'm disappointed now.
Movie. I'm really I'm whatever.
Oh, it was called 892.
Oh God, way better title.
Yeah, way different. They wanted to be more marketable there, but John Boyega is incredible in that, by the way. But what I'll tell you real quick with I was like the Idris Elba movie. No, with 3,000 Years of Longing. The really interesting part I thought during their virtual press conference was they worked over Zoom with George Miller on parts of the script and reworked pieces and stuff, which led me to think, then who's responsible for what happened in the third act?
Yeah.
It was kind of cool hearing that like they would have these like talks and like readings over Zoom during the pandemic, and just kind of a neat way that they had to go about their filmmaking. But
what's the runtime on that?
Oh, it's like an hour 40, I think.
That is?
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Hey, that's
And it's
pretty
still
I don't-
in the third act.
Wow.
I feel like I might be making that up, so please don't take that.
Oh, that's okay. It's all right.
3,000
Let's
years.
see.
It's pretty good.
Hour,
So
hour 48. Hour 48. So
Yeah.
hour 40 with credits,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Um,
interesting. Yeah.
It's not terrible. Sean, what have you been watching, sir?
So Joe is really good at the transitions and segues. So here we go.
That was excellent.
Um,
Kind of caught me out of nowhere.
Speaking of Idris Elba,
Yeah.
I saw Beast, and I went to see Beast on a Friday afternoon, thinking like I was like walking in there, being like ready to give this a C. Like I was just like ready to sit down. I was like not really enthusiastic about this at all. I'm like, this feels like the kind of movie that I would have watched if I was bored in high school. And wow, was I wrong? This movie was great.
Really?
I loved this. I was so surprised. It was like Cujo with a lion, but it was just such like this like wonderful dynamic movie. Was it like the dialogue was just like the like cliche loser like monster movie? Absolutely. The dialogue was just like absolutely terrible, but everything else about this movie was so great. It was so exciting. The director like had these like oneers that were just so good, like these one-shot levels that just like made things so intense and so suspenseful. Idris was surprising in this as like kind of like the everyman who's elevated. I was like, wow, he's actually quite impressive. I will say the visual effects. I mean, it's a CGI lion. You know it's a CGI lion. You already are aware it's a CGI lion. Get over the fact that it's a CGI lion. And when you do, it's like, oh, they kind of blended it very well. Like there's a scene where like Charlotte, I can't pronounce his first name, but Charlotte Copley like hugs a lion, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I know that ain't a lion, but still, it's doing okay. Like it's kind of
It's doing okay.
It was a lion.
yeah, I was actually kind of wondering. I was like, oh, did they do that? So because of that, I was like, all right, I'm very impressed by this. Like there was like kind of like this heartwarming family story in there that like I was sort of like stunned at. I was like, normally like you kind of put that plot in there and it distracts from the rest of the movie. In this one, it like did like it just worked. It worked for me. This movie, I walked out of it, I was like, wow, this movie worked on me. I can't believe it did either.
Yeah.
I think that was literally your text to me.
Because Sean, my first thought when I saw that trailer was Cujo with a lion. It's literally, I was like, oh my god, it's just like Cujo, but with a lion. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh man,
I had problems. I always have problem with dialogue. That's like Sean's the third act king, and I'm the dialogue king. And like there's one line in there that really like I think I turned around looking at people like, did you catch that? You laughing too? And they weren't. It was just me apparently. But like near the end of the movie, at one point, they're like, "How did the lion get here?" And Idris Elba's like, "He must have cut through the mountains." And I'm like, "Oh, the lion took a fucking shortcut." Like that's.
I did actually. Like, that just went right over my head because I was just like, "Look, this is happening all in one shot." I'm like a freaking moron. Like it's like he's going through the building in one shot. That's so cool.
It was that, and then like some of it I thought was pretty forced. Like the oldest daughter that like had issues with them, like the lion, like they're all about to die and all this shit's happening, and all of a sudden she's like, "It's just like that time you told us." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, well, where did that come from?
You left mom. It's like there's a lion with his mouth over your head.
Yeah, this is not the time. Oh man. Sean, I was surprised when you texted me and you were like, "Wow, it kind of works for me."
I was like, even like maybe 4 or 5 minutes in, I was just like, and then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh wait, I actually kind of like this."
I almost feel like sometimes like when the special effects aren't there, it's just better to stay consistently bad because I think people will eventually like audio. When you watch like independent films or like like in YouTube movies, if the audio is bad, I always say like just leave it bad because if it sounds good at one spot and then goes bad again, you're gonna remind people it's bad audio. So I almost feel like I wonder if that's what works for this. If it's just bad through the whole thing, you kind of forget, and then you start pitying like, oh, they're trying. That one looks good.
It's like throwing cleaner on the bathroom floor. Then you got to clean the whole bathroom. But.
Sean, what's the other one
that here is like with the visual effects, it was like, the lion attacked most of the time at night. And so it's like, okay, yeah, that works. Like,
It's raining.
Except when the lion was almost
raining.
Except when the lion was almost blown up and then like got up and was like, ugh, and walked off.
Oh yeah. That was a little bit strange, yeah. Like burns everywhere all over. So very quickly, the other one I saw was On the Count of Three, and I just watched it today, so I'm like fresh. So I'm going to just go quick. But this is with Christopher Abbott and Gerard Carmichael, directed by Gerard Carmichael, and it is a story of two friends that decide they have a suicide pact to kill each other, and then they one of them. It actually kind of is.
Joking.
Yeah, that's the problem. That might be part of the problem with it. I'm not totally sure.
My old high school friends. Well, they used to be at this time. No.
Abbott, quickly just backs out, and then they have they say, all right, we'll do it later today, and so they have one last day together, and that premise alone bothered me, and working off of that bothered me a little bit, because obviously, as you literally said, suicide's not exactly rife with comedy, but they did handle that kind of action and those themes with a respectful gravity, which is I thought was very important. I thought that was very good. The movie is 80 minutes long. I love a good short movie, but this one didn't really give time to really care for the characters until the end. The end of this movie is really I was it was a sit-up movie where I was just completely sitting up. It's on Hulu, by the way, so it's only available on stream, but I was completely sitting up, and I was fully invested. It took a while to get there, but that was something that was interesting to me. It was a fascinating movie. I'm still sort of a lot swimming in my head about it, but that's one of them.
I missed this one at Sundance or Tribeca, one of the whatevers, and I just saw it was on Hulu the other night when I was going to watch Will and Grace for the 75th time. And I was like, maybe I should watch this, but I didn't. So I will put that on. Yeah, I watched Will and Grace. Yeah, so I'll put that on my list. But that sounds good. Hulu, yeah.
But you watched the episode of Will and Grace where they both point guns at each other and they agree to kill themselves, right? Or is that...
The Lost episode, yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's...
All right, guys. Rob and Jeff, what have you been watching?
Here we go.
Yeah, I've been watching Sandman. I have found absolutely fantastic. I very seldom do this. Usually when I'm on pace and I'm going, I got the football and I run. I'm finishing off the entire series, but I actually held off a little bit on this one and kept a couple at the end, and just so I kind of had them there. Just to finish off, I've really, really enjoyed it. I love the overall story and the overall arc. But what I really enjoy is there's conclusions within the story, which I don't think we get a lot on these like we used to. So it's kind of fun to be like, oh, that's done and that's taken care of, and let's move on to the next. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. I think the characters are fantastic, and I'm always kind of a purist when it does fit closely to the comic, and it's very enjoyable.
What is that about? It's based off comic. I haven't started it yet.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah,
I will say the first episode could be the first season of the show.
Yes,
I was in awe after I watched the first episode. I was like, wow, that was 100 years.
If I'm not mistaken, it's a long episode too, is it not?
I think it's 90.
Time wise, but yes.
Entertaining. I still need to watch it. It's on my list, but I've heard great things, and I know a lot of people are hoping for a second season to be announced.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk this week that might not happen either, just because of the overall cost of the show. But
it's a lot.
When Rob says all the time, if it's that hot, they're going to find money for it.
Yeah, it's Netflix. They have money.
Money.
What about you, Rob?
It's kind of been like a weird law for stuff to watch. I felt like I was watching a bunch of stuff and it all ended at the same time. One of them I didn't finish though. Is The Old Man on Hulu. It's an FX on Hulu series. I think I'm on episode 6 is where I left off. I like the show, but I feel like it takes commitment to sit down and watch, because it is a slow burn every episode, and you're just kind of waiting. And I felt like I'm like, okay, episode 6 by now something's more has got to happen, but it's a little bit slower pace than what I was expecting of the series when I watched the trailer, and I was pretty hyped for it because I love Jeff Bridges, so I was excited to see this. But I don't know, I'm struggling through it, and I will continue to watch. But yeah, I can't stay on geek. And then another one I'm not proud to admit, it's a guilty pleasure of mine, is my wife, like, we started watching this because we literally can't, like, we're just like, there's nothing to watch right now, was Virgin River on Netflix.
Yep.
It is terrible. Like, it is so bad, but it's like remember like the old like Friday night TV with the family, like,
oh yeah,
everybody's happy, everything's okay, and then they try to do these dark spin plot twists where there's a mystery around every little character, but you like, it's gotten to a point where like we're like mystery science theatering it, where it's just like, oh, of course there's a dark story in the past, but it's so hardly filmed that, like, I don't know why we just keep turning it back on.
It's like an old WB show where like there's no way that all of this stuff could happen to you, but
yeah. And I mean, I do like Alexandria Breckenridge. Like, I was a fan of hers back, like, she popped out. She made like small appearances in a lot of good shows like Walking Dead, This Is Us, and then so it's good to see her like finally get a lead, because I think she's very talented. So that was kind of my initial interest, and like, yeah, let's check this out to see her finally get her shot. And then Otter is in it, right, from Animal House. Like he's the man now. So, but I don't know why I just keep going back and watch this show. I have no expectations. You don't have to think. You're like, I had a rough day at work. Let's watch some.
Sometimes that's
Virgin
good.
River.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
yeah. Listen, everyone needs those types of shows. I mean, you heard me reference earlier Will and Grace. I need stupid sometimes when I'm very stressed out, and I'm like, let's go back to Old Faithful here. That, The Office, Schitt's Creek. Like, I'll watch all this stuff over and over again.
Yes.
Now, I do want to ask. I had one more on the list because this is hot off the press from Sunday. Have you guys watched House of Dragon?
Okay. All right. Wait. How we doing?
Sean's ready.
I didn't watch it, but you guys go ahead.
So, well, first it didn't. I was a victim of the HBO Max issue.
When it crashed.
Yeah. So then I had to put it on like my mom's HBO Max, and so she's currently a fan of House of Dragons, so her algorithm's gonna get all messed up. She's not ready for that. I will say it's one of these levels where Game of Thrones is back. I think it's in the sense that it's boring again, and I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that as they're not doing too much crap. Like, it is, there's still exciting stuff happening, but it's all about like, intrigue and like, them sitting at tables and arguing and stuff. And, we realized after 8 seasons that that's what made Game of Thrones kind of magical. That's what made it like really wonderful and fun. I think the performers in this are unbelievable. Matt Smith is just hitting dingers. He's just coming in there and he is just hitting dingers the whole way.
So good.
Yeah.
He's so good. So I'm really excited to be where this goes. Every like Thrones fan I'm talking to, they're all like, we were just so hurt. Like, so we're just so scared to like go back into this, and we're like nervous about this, but I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, because I mean, those last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones were just awful. Like, when they lost the source material, you could tell, and it just, none of it made sense. All their planning, the giant chain that the walkers apparently had on standby to pull a dragon out. Like, it's just, there was just so much dumb stuff in that like, this was, like you said, it was great return to basic. Like, I honestly thought this was a better like first episode launch for a series than the Game of Thrones episode. Because I mean, the first Game of Thrones episode, I was kind of bored until the last 2 seconds of what Jamie does, and like, then you're like, oh, well, I kind of want to see the next episode now. But until then, I was just kind of like pushing through it. Whereas this one, I thought the cinematography was well done. I thought the action sequences with like the jousting of the games, I thought that was really well filmed. I thought they used some really new, unique like filming technique for that to put you in those matches, and I was really intrigued by that. But I thought this was a great first episode launch for the series. Like, I am excited to see. I want it kind of back on the political, like that's what made Game of Thrones so cool, was the Game of Thrones. It was all these people kind of backstabbing for power, and this definitely already kicked that off. So I'm excited.
This cast is wonderful too. You have Patty Considine, Rhys Ifans. I mean, like already I'm just like in for these like really like these known English actors, but they're just like they're known for like being kind of under the radar for a while. Oh,
are you talking about? And you mentioned Matt Smith. Is that Matt Smith of Morbius?
Yeah, that's Matt Smith of Morbius fame, baby.
Oh, nice.
I need to watch this. I heard great things. We have recaps weekly on GuyAtTheMovies.com from Tarek, who's doing a great job with it, and is like, he's a huge Game of Thrones fan, and he's like singing this episode's praises already, and he's like, I can't wait for episode 2.
Yeah.
So hooked me in.
Yes, like, so my wife never watched Game of Thrones, and I had asked her before watching this, I said, now, do you want to watch this series with me, or like, do I just watch it alone? I said, because it does take place, 200 years before Game of Thrones. Other than the geek, the geek boys that are just going to watch this, be like, oh wait, that's the story, which I don't think is pivotal. I think it's exciting for our fans of Game of Thrones to be able to see those Easter eggs, but I don't think you have to. And she said, yeah, like I'll watch it, and she was really entertained by it. Like she's she's up ready to go watch it. So it was kind of a neat test of somebody who really didn't want to watch Game of Thrones, but watched this episode and is ready to wants to follow along.
Funny, Game of Thrones wasn't her thing, and then she sat through the birth scene, which
it's those memes where it's like every time she walked in the room when I was watching Game of Thrones, of course it had to be like at the brothel. Like it had to be like those scenes where you're just like, I swear that's not the entire series. Like, yeah, okay, every time I walk in the room. But so I mean, this one touched on it too. But I am happy. Like, it didn't seem to overuse it, because I do think that becomes a crutch with HBO. It's like, I get it, you can swear and use nudity, but like you don't have to do away with the dialogue and plot to show it just because you can.
If you could make me turn away from violence, like that's impressive at this point, because I'm so desensitized, and they made me turn away.
Oh, that was terrible. That was
yeah. I don't want to say too much for Joe, but like,
no.
I feel like they wanted to go like all the way with this episode to be like, oh no, we're back, baby.
Yeah. Well put. Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I just feel like there's so much to watch right now, and there's even more coming. I need to really quit my job and get paid for doing this.
You can get paid for doing this.
Sean's like, I've been saying this.
Oh, you're my fans only account.
Yeah. It's called fans only.
Viewers.
Yes. Yeah. You got to have those. Yeah.
Where do you get those? Do you get them at the store?
I don't know.
My mom's.
Well, I just real quick on that subject. There's a guy named Steve Wills that camps, and he just hit 1 million subscribers. And why do I know this? Yes. Why do you know that, Jeff? Because I watch him on YouTube every fucking week. You're
part of the problem.
I'm part of the problem. Absolutely. Yes.
I want to figure out that thing that's going to take off, but related to movies.
Yeah.
Like I just, people are so creative, and it bothers me that I have to work every day of my life doing what I do. No, I'm kidding. Love my job. Please don't fire me if you listen, boss. So speaking of
subscribe, boss. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of subscriptions, let's dive into what we've been watching. And MoviePass is back from the dead. This is the film subscription service that first started in 2011 and had, I think it like rose from the dead twice or something. But I was definitely part of its demise because I was like, oh man, I'm getting a lot of free movies here. Did any of you have MoviePass at any point?
No.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
I did.
Really? God, of course I did.
So MoviePass was wonderful at the time because it was unlimited movies, and then it like wasn't unlimited movies, and then there were no movies that you could get on there. It was kind of crazy. But basically, the company that had bought it from the original co-founders, the company was Helios and Matheson Analytics. They purchased it in 2017 and filed for bankruptcy in 2020. But now the original co-founder bought it back. And has been working to figure out how to relaunch it. I think it's a really interesting time to do this because in the US, at least, there wasn't a subscription service at AMC. There wasn't a subscription service at Regal at the time that MoviePass was really popular. MoviePass just had a really shitty business model. But apparently they figured it out now. So Thursday morning at 9 a.m., that's Thursday the 25th, you can sign up for their beta version to get on the trial list or the wait list for it. There's going to be 3 levels offered: $10, $20, $30, depends on the user's market. You'll have a set amount of credits to purchase tickets. And you can purchase them on the app for about like 25% of theaters in the US. Otherwise, you have to take the card, like the MasterCard, to the theater to buy your tickets. The biggest change is the card is no longer red, it's black.
Oh,
so
okay.
that solves everything.
That's definitely going to help them out. Yeah.
This should be great. But what do you guys think about this? Like, is this do you think this is a good thing? And for Rob and Jeff, you guys who haven't had it before, is this something that interests you at all?
No. Not even in the slightest.
No, I mean,
No.
I think that, you know, I'll say I think for some people it is. I guess it's like for Attack on Show, you know, we didn't say at the beginning, but we're more of like the casual home viewer. So like going to the theater, like we're not your like go to the theater and give you the review of the movie that's coming out now. So I you know, as far as for the show's purpose, I don't think this makes sense. But to me, like the theater has just gotten, and I know this is supposed to help you save money, but it's like with popcorn and everything else, like like you're dropping some cash to go to the movies. And like I hold out for special films at this point before I go to the movies. Like it's got to be Top Gun Maverick or anything else Tom Cruise. But like it's got to be that big. It's got to be that event for me to go to the theater and see it because
the Mummy.
What's that?
The Mummy.
The Mummy.
That was during as well.
I did.
That was a hell of a Tom Cruise reference you decided to pull, The Mummy.
I was trying to find the worst.
Oh, you did? Yeah, Lions for Lambs?
I just, to me, it's, I don't know. It's not one of those things, especially with the history that it has. Guys, people going in to use the card in the theater and the card being rejected, like literally they can't put anything on it. I don't know. I just don't. For something like that, I think there's you know,
and we've got to like
if it's that needed, someone else will come up with something better. I guess.
There's a theater that near here that like the one that I do go to, like they actually I like their plan, the idea that they do all inclusive for the snacks. So for us to go like we go like that makes it worth it now to pay, and it's great because we can both go to the counter and say I'll take one all inclusive wristband, and like, does he want one? No, but I need 4 slices of pizza. And like they just hand it to you. These kids are like, whatever. They're not getting commission. So, but that to me, like I like the idea of having all the snacks. Now that's what's gotten us to go, I think, a little bit more to the movies of like, well, let's go see a 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock film and we can just grab dinner there at that price and enjoy the movie. But I don't know that are there enough movies coming out in the theater to make it worthwhile to have a monthly pass? B, will their plan work a second time considering what they put everybody through? You know, what would George Bush say? Like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah,
I don't know. But
mission accomplished. Oh wait, that's not what we're talking about.
But I think there's going to be a lot of people holding out to like wait and see.
There's just so much entertainment at home. You know, just don't. It's not like it used to be. You know what I mean? Where that was your only place. It's everything. Again, a lot of great stuff you can't even see in the movie theater.
If it's not on Peacock, is it worth going to the theater?
Exactly.
I was gonna say. Halloween Ends coming to Peacock as well. Can't wait. Sean, are you trading in your AMC Stubs membership for Movie Pass?
No, AMC Stubs is way better. Actually, no free ads, so I'll just say it's the place I go to for magic. But
we come to this place.
I have it memorized. But no, I mean, like the AMC deal I have is just so much better. It's $20 a month, 3 movies a week. I'm robbing them blind. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I can't see 3 movies a week. It's summer vacation. I have nothing going on, and I still can't see 3 movies a week. So
how many times did you see Top Gun? With that pass.
Well, just twice. Like the tricky part was, first of all, this is a big thing when you guys all talk. I shut up when you guys talk about rewatching stuff. I'm not a rewatcher at all.
No,
I refuse to. Not refuse to rewatch, but I there's so much out that
Sean,
I need to see
unless
everything.
it's The Simpsons, I don't rewatch it. That's basically it. Yeah.
The only time I rewatch is when my wife hasn't seen it, and I get to sort of I don't know, but
watch her watch it.
Kind of that, yes. I'm on the couch.
You got to coach her. You got to coach her through it, right? You got to let her know. Wait, pay attention to this.
This is the part where Jerry Maguire says, "Show me the money. Get ready." For me, like it just, I go, first of all, 2 times to Top Gun because I went to see it with my dad. That's the most popular sentence in the world. Like everyone went to see Top Gun with dad. But I like for that, it's just I have something that's solid.
I'm sorry, I have like 3 things to say to that. If it was our show, it must be nice to have a dad. No, go ahead. No.
Right after I said it, I immediately thought of that. And I was just like, I'm just going to keep on talking.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
power through.
Shit. No, like I have a good deal with like an evil corporation, and the thing about an evil corporation is it's more reliable, and so it's just like okay, cool. I'm just gonna be a complete sellout instead of spending like $10 a movie. And Movie Pass, I mean, I had a great time with it for those few months, and I also contributed probably to its demise. But then I remember there was times where like you couldn't do Movie Pass for like Disney movies. Or or for a certain time, and it was just like, well, that defeats the purpose.
Or until it was out for like 2 weeks, I think. Then it started becoming like there was premiere movies you couldn't see right away, and
then it was just like see Slender Man 8 times. And it's just like, I remember it was just Slender Man was out. And I was like, wow, this is wonderful.
Well, and then I remember it was American Animals was the only one you could see because they produced it.
Yep, they produced the movie too. Movie Pass.
And they also produced Gotti.
Oh,
they did not. They were not selective.
Or they were, and that was part of the problem.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna do this just for a month, just to document it for Guy at the Movies to see what happens. Because the best thing that can happen for Guy at the Movies, while I wish them success, would be for it to flame out in like epic style. So we'll see what happens. I don't think it has the leg. It's gonna have the legs to be successful. Unless they start doing something really weird, maybe an all-inclusive type option or something like that, like deals or something. I just don't see it really fitting into today, which is kind of how I feel about the next story here. And this is Red Sonja, a movie that Sean, I think we've talked about for years on this podcast. It is an adaptation, a new adaptation of the comic that was last on screen in 1985 with Bridget Nelson and Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is a project that's been on the docket for years from Millennium. At one point, Bryan Singer of X-Men fame and other issues was...
Oh, he's great. Whatever happened to him?
Yeah, well, we won't talk about that. He was supposed to be part of it before Transparent's Joe Soloway was brought on board. And now it seems like the story that we reported on, Sean, back in 2021 is still true. Is still like moving in that direction, I should say. Joe Soloway from Transparent, as well as Tasha Huo, who was the showrunner for Netflix's Tomb Raider, wrote the script for this film that's going to star Matilda Lutz, who was in Revenge, Wallace Day, who was in Sex/Life. She also was in Krypton, the short-lived DC Krypton show, which I absolutely loved.
I love that too. That was a great show. I
was so mad when it got canceled. And then Robert Sheehan from the Umbrella Academy. They're going to be the leads in this, directed by Solomon Kane's MJ Bassett. Jeff, I want to go to you because you're the comic guy. Do you know anything about Red Sonja? Are you excited about this?
Not really. It's just, and it's horrible to say that. It's just not, I'm just not. It's one of those things that has been, maybe 10 years ago I was, but it's again, and there's kind of that drawback when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Marvel tends to do some of these things so well in so many ways that I don't know. This has been kicked around. Great character, but I don't know. Not even current in the comics right now. I don't believe that character has a current run. And that kind of says something, right?
I'm with you.
Yeah.
With you. I will say that it says Wallace Day is best known for her role in Paramount's Infinite, starring Mark Wahlberg.
It's not great.
That's not a great
claim to fame there.
Rob, how about you? Any interest in this Red Sonja stuff?
If we can get both Arnold and Bridget Nielsen back for cameos, I'm game.
I'm working on that, actually. Yeah.
I want to see him swinging the sword on a mountaintop with a helicopter flying around. Yeah. I think that'd be fantastic. But no, I don't know. I mean, are they... There is like a She-Ra, hype going on. Like there's the revamped Netflix cartoon that kids are getting into. I guess I'm not ready to X this out yet until I see a trailer. Like if it can be done right, I think this could be an entertaining movie.
Anything can be done and be awesome with the right people, right?
Yeah,
we can all agree.
Sure.
The right people, everything put together correctly, anything can be awesome.
Exactly. Famed comic book writer Jill Soloway.
Yes,
and I'm very excited. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to go off memory, but the Umbrella Academy.
He plays Claus.
Claus, yes. I'm actually I want to see him in something else. So when I saw him attached, I was like, okay, that alone would be enough. Like I want to see what he does in a different role because I think he's amazing in Umbrella Academy. So I don't know. Like I wouldn't say this is something that I have a countdown set to, but if the trailer comes up, I'll check it out because of interest. Like I'll see if they can pull this off or not.
Well, with the way production's been moving on this, the trailer will be out in like 2025.
Yes.
So, Sean, Red Sonja, yay or nay?
I don't know what the fuck this is. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are they? It's just like, what is this shit?
Oh,
I literally had to Google, is Bridget Nielsen still alive? That's how much I know about
is
her.
she though?
She is.
Oh, okay. Well, all right.
Still kicking.
Good for her.
Still kicking.
She was
Still
kicking.
kicking.
Technically, she's alive.
Yeah, technically she's still alive, and technically the Planet of the Apes franchise is still alive. And we are moving forward, or Disney is moving forward with another Planet of the Apes film, which is hilarious to me. And I see I put the wrong link in there for the outline, and I apologize. But let me bring that up real quick to fill you all in on what's happening. This news dropped last night, but apparently Disney's been very, very big on getting Planet of the Apes going since they acquired 20th Century Fox back in, 2019 or something at this point. What's that?
How very Disney of them.
I know, it's kind of strange that they would want to milk this.
That's a trilogy,
Yes.
they're already saying.
Yeah. Owen Teague, who is best known as one of the bullies in 2017's It, which I don't know if that's like the best thing. He's going to lead the new film as the lead ape, the lead primate. So major casting happening here. But the Maze Runner, the Scorch Trials director, Wes Ball, wrote the script. And he also will direct, but apparently when he turned this in, they were like thrilled about it. So I don't really know where this is going to go. But they're fast tracking it. Production is being eyed to begin later this year. And of course, we had the last one in 2017 with War of the Planet of the Apes, which wrapped a trio of films that I thought were overall really surprisingly good. But let me start with Sean up here with the new Planet of the Apes, whatever it will be. Number one, are you excited or interested in this? Number two, where do you think they can go with it?
I don't know where they go with it because, I mean, I think it'll be like some kind of like side story situation because the trilogy, or they just completely just blow it up and just do something else. That
Apes in space.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, it's or they go way further into the future. They do like they did back in the original Planet of the Apes because that prequel trilogy was a solid trilogy. It really just was. I mean, I think the third was a little bit wanting. I didn't love it, but I think that as long as they're keeping that same gravitas is not the right word, but I'll just say gravitas instead. Gravitas, I think it could work. I just worry, there's the Disneyfication of it where it'll be a Disney Plus series, and then 3 movies, and then they'll say, wait, nothing's working, and then everything will be going down, and then they'll just have nothing happening for it, and the property will just end up anywhere. But I think I think you can't really do much more with the prequels. I mean, they literally introduced Nova. It was just that's those apes are now moving on. Caesar's dead. Spoilers. And I think at this point, I don't know if you move on past that or you just straight up go past the Hestons. And, I think you can do something with it. There's plenty to do. Apes took over the world. You can have fun with that. You can there's a lot there. There's a lot to mine. So, I mean, don't make it bad. You pay circus for the love of God. Pay circus.
Yes.
For the love of God, pay circus. But I don't know.
Is he attached yet?
I don't know. He's been announced to be attached yet.
Yeah, he's not as of this moment. I mean, this is the guy that's playing the lead ape. So
I don't think it will work actually because he's already the Claw in whatever the Black Panther movie, so he can't
I thought you were gonna say.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Wait, what? Oh,
that would be.
When
great.
you said the Claw, I thought of it, or not cousin it, the Hand from Wednesday. I was like, no, is he doing?
He's using the hand. Yes.
Let me throw a wrinkle in to see if this will interest you, because a little bit of breaking news about this. That was the wrong tag, but anyway, here's the breaking news. It was just revealed that this is a musical.
You're kidding?
no.
You are kidding.
I'm not kidding. It is a musical that they are moving forward with, and it sounds like it might be going to Disney Plus.
No. They actually can't do that because Simpsons did it.
Simpsons did it.
I'm not kidding you. Simpsons did it already.
They did.
And they did it so much better. They can't do
Disney
that.
now owns them too, so yeah.
I would-
So that's
I'll be
what
honest.
just broke.
Yes, why not?
If they do a live action of the Simpsons episode of the Planet of the Apes musical, then you know what?
I was completely kidding, by the way.
Come on, I knew you were kidding. You got Rob on his phone.
I know. I saw Rob go. I was like, "Fuck, I gotta."
Now I'm all disappointed. That's yeah.
What do you guys think about
myself
this?
into it, you jerk.
I think
you did.
I think Sean's kind of hit the nail on that. There's so much to work with there. How can you not, right?
Yeah.
How can you not go with that? However, I hope they start in a whole new direction. I think the Caesar trilogy was amazing, and that kind of needs to be left alone. I'd like to go, kind of a rehash of the Charlton Heston time, and I think that would be a lot of fun. And on that real quick, 2024, they're actually Marvel is doing that now in the comics. They're releasing 2024. They're going back into that universe in the Charlton Heston time, and they're going to start comic book from that time period. So that's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, through Marvel. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Rob, are you of the same belief here that this is an interesting way to move forward?
I'm one of the rarities who is not a Matt Reeves fan. So the Batman I thought was garbage. I felt like all the Planet of the Apes were overhyped. I don't
like the Batman either.
The third one, I felt like they completely wasted Woody Harrelson's character. I was really hyped to see him in that role, and then he ended up just being a crate. I felt like they just wasted that build up for him, and I just feel like I feel like Matt Reeves is overhyped. Now this new trilogy, they're already saying it's signed off as a new trilogy, has a lot of the original producers. I think the same similar right. I feel the writers are over. They say it's going to be in the shared universe. So I don't know if that means a side-by-side timeline or if it's going to take place in the future. But I don't know what else you do with this to make it interesting, or I don't know. Does it take place 100 years later when they're all human?
Oh my God.
No, I want to see some half-breeds. How interesting would that be?
Oh.
I would honestly love to
And
see
here's
them
Robin Williams.
if they all become human in 100 or 1,000 years or something. You made it political. You brought evolution into it. You made
your
it
woke
political.
monkey movies and evolution. Texas bans it.
It's like people's furious.
Well, that should be pretty interesting to see kind of what direction they take that in. Disney, of course, loves milking IP, so I'm sure that we will see a ton of Planet of the Apes, similar to what Sean was saying with Disney Plus shows and all that jazz coming down the road.
Maybe they'll bring Mark Wahlberg back.
That would be awesome, right?
We don't have enough time to talk about the Mark Wahlberg one. And we don't have enough time to talk about this next one of a show that I don't really love, but one of our friends of the pod loves this damn show, and I had to put it in here for him. Is that Community? The movie is still in the works apparently, where creator Dan Harmon just gave an update saying that there's a story that they've been shopping around essentially, and now negotiations are happening, and then later on said it's a matter of when, not if. But for you guys on Attack on Show, are you Community fans, and do you want to see a movie?
I never watched it.
Nah, me neither. It was just not mine. Yeah.
Perfect. Moving on. No kidding.
Was it Childish?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
And Star-Lord. He was also in it. Yes.
What?
Was it Star?
No, he wasn't in it.
Jackson, right.
Oh, see? Well, there you go. I thought they were the same thing. Yes.
Chevy Chase,
there
Joel
you go.
McHale.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe McHale, the dish.
Yeah, there's a good amount of people in there, though.
There
But
is,
Sean, we've talked about this with Community before, when we've had Dom from Talking TV on, who's obsessed with it and can't go one episode without bringing it up. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you want to see
I absolutely, when this show came out, I adored this show. I adored this show a lot. It was it's a lot of fun. It's good for and it's a good internet culture movie nerd show. It's chock full of references and all this goofy stuff. So there's a lot of great to it. This show is resilient. Dan Harmon, the creator, got fired in the 4th season. He came back in the 5th season. The show got canceled in the 5th season, and then in the 6th season, it went to Yahoo. And it was literally Yahoo Entertainment got sunk, and Dan Harmon blames himself for that. But honestly, what's great about this show is that with the exception of the 4th season, which was kind of rocky, and ironically, the Russo brothers were the ones that took it over at that point. It was a rocky show, but for the most part, this show has like kind of stayed well with its qualifications, with like, Childish Gambino, Donald Glover leaving, and Yvette Nicole Brown leaving, and Chevy Chase being fired from it. It was kind of like it always like stayed true. It always stayed. The cast did love each other, even though some of them left for certain reasons. But like, so they could make a movie come back. I think the internet fan base, which unfortunately was rabid because that's Dan Harmon's fan bases. They're the same with Rick and Morty. So they would come back for a movie. I think it would be like the big tagline in it. One of the jokes throughout it was 6 seasons in a movie, because it's something that like he said throughout. And so like they did 6 seasons, and like the final shot in the 6th season was like #and a movie. And so they were always, this was always the plan, was to make a movie. And whether it's good or not, I think it needs to be completed as to make the movie. Yeah.
I'm just curious if, like, I mean, with all the shows that came out, like, is this the one that's deserving? I mean, like, Superstore was great, Parks and Rec was great, The Office. I mean, there's so many shows at the time. It's just like, this one always seemed like a cult following. So is it like, are you going to get like a Snyderverse? Like, you've got this strong push from a loud voice from not so many, where like, is this deserving of a film? Like, I feel like that's a risk. It's risky to do that on this. I'd be curious to see the turnout.
I would be like, I would be pretty certain that if they were to do a movie, it would be on streaming. Like, it would be
Peacock.
somewhere on.
It would be
streaming.
Peacock.
It would actually probably be
show.
Peacock. It would be Peacock, or also Community for some reason is on Netflix, which I'm sure will transfer to Peacock. So it could.
It'll be a horror movie. It'll be a horror Peacock.
If it's a horror Peacock movie, that would be brilliant. I think that, like, is it deserving? I mean, I think Parks and Rec is a finer show. I think The Office is a more iconic show, but I don't know if like those will work with like a movie format where Community is something so friggin' goofy and so kind of like crazy that like a movie is just like, even if it like is silly and doesn't work, it still works because it's Community.
Hey,
like they have that to fall on.
A movie and a sequel. Anybody can get a movie.
Which one was that?
Reno 911.
Oh yeah.
Don't they have like 3 movies now? Or?
Yeah,
that QAnon one was not good.
I was like, that one. Yeah, no.
I was like, what is this?
I gotta stand up for Peacock because they do have like the best comedy series that's on any streaming service. I know we're giving it a hard time, but MacGruber, the series on Peacock, is comedy gold.
Hot take: better than the movie.
Yeah,
I think so. I think it's better than the movie. Yeah.
Is it still going?
They have a season 2 coming.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
If you laugh during the movie, you will piss your pants during the series. Like, it is.
That's a great tagline.
Hilarious.
You should sell.
Seriously.
Well, you have to like that humor. That's why I say,
tweet that.
Yeah, you need to tweet that. Yeah.
We'll see where that goes. It's kind of interesting that Community is still like, it's just funny because I haven't heard much about that show aside from people that like it in the past couple of years, but it's funny that he's still like, yeah, we're going to make this. It's going to happen one day. And you know what? Someone will give him the money to do it at the end of the day. It's a streaming service for sure.
Like he's still cranking out seasons of Rick and Morty. I mean, he's writing himself other stuff. There's a couple of other shows I can't remember, but he has that ability, and I think someone could sell the Community movie. I think it's definitely going to happen eventually.
When did Community run compared to Arrested Development?
After Community was
through 2015.
Yeah, through 2015 started, and I believe 2010 then, like 2010 or 2009.
Because Arrested Development was one of those I never watched, and I just started, and I was shocked to see the Russo brothers did the pilot, that they were attached. So it's interesting to see that they stayed, went over to Community there with that.
But yeah, they did a lot of they were like TV for hire almost. I mean, you think about it, Community. There's the famed paintball episode in the first season, which is one of like the ones that introed it into like a different level of television almost than just a typical show. And Justin Lin directed that. Which is always the strangest thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, listen, I can't stand that show, to be quite honest. But moving on from that.
How much have you watched it? Like, I've never watched it, so I can't judge.
I didn't watch the entire show. I know for a fact that I watched like the first 2 or 3 seasons, and then I caught a ton of the others out of order. So I can't tell you what happened and where, what I've seen and what I haven't seen. But I just always felt like it was one of those shows that tried going there, but I never met the humor where it was. I couldn't get there. I love dumb shit. Don't get me wrong. Right. But it was always one of those where it was like, you saw the setup and you were just kind of like, didn't hit. But I might rewatch it. I need another show to rewatch. So
Ted
who
Lasso.
knows?
Yes.
Ted, I still haven't watched Ted Lasso.
Oh, Joe.
I'm the worst.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't.
We're still friends?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's rough. Hey, Sean, you want to join Attack on the Show?
Yeah.
Podcast draft coming up. Listen, so we like to, after news, get into rants and raves every week. And I have a long rant that I want to get into, but I'm going to save this until the end of them so that I, don't like overshadow and annoy anyone on the podcast and they shut it off before any other stuff. So, Sean, let's start with your rant here. I'm very interested in this.
Yeah, no, thank God I'm doing mine first, because if I had to follow you with my trivial piece of shit rant, I would have been so... because what I've got is just so dumb. Okay, but this is something that's been bothering me lately. Recently, 2 movies did it: Beast and Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And, I think The Dark Knight Rises was also guilty of it. And there's several others. And my rant is instantaneous night or instantaneous morning, where all of a sudden, throughout a few scenes, it's just immediately nighttime or immediately morning. I mean, there's the lack of logic in it where that part bothers me first. Is it's sort of illogical, but I don't know, when Idris Elba is punching a lion in the same movie, you tend to get over the lack of logic and you're kind of fine with that. But I think my problem is those 2 moments of time, dusk and dawn, are golden hours. You can make a movie look beautiful at those moments. And instead, it's these moments where all of a sudden it's bright out and all of a sudden it's dark out. And you miss that beautiful moment where things are you could get some great shots and you can get some great stuff. Now, I don't know if it's because it's a challenge to film stuff. I've never filmed anything, so I don't really know how that goes and stuff like that. But everything is fake and CGI and nothing's real in this world anymore. So why not just give us some dusk and dawn scenes in movies?
Sean, I know exactly what you're talking about with Beast. It's when they're driving away at the end, near the end, and it's dark out, and then all of a sudden they stop the car and it's light out. I was like, what?
It's because the sun cut through the mountains.
The sun cut through the mountains. Yeah. I missed that line. Rob and Jeff. I keep looking at the name on here as EJ, and I keep wanting to say EJ.
Oh, it is
E&J.
But what do you guys got here? Rant or rave?
I'm getting tired of basically you see all these headlines popping up, and it's the same story with different names. Where it's like Keanu Reeves would love to play Batman. Okay, cool. Owen Teague would love to be in John Wick 4. Cool. Who was it? Why are we just these stories are just everybody's wish list of movies, and I don't know if it's just a slow entertainment story time but they're constantly popping up in the feed with so and so wants to play this, and it's some fifth extra, and Lord of the Rings wants to lead next Lord of the Rings Amazon Prime series, and it's
I think what they should.
Cool. I would love that too.
They should combine them now, with the Owen Teague thing. Owen Teague would love to be Batman, but instead he's going to be an ape. that gets the news and handles those numbers.
Owen Teague for his 5th option.
And you know what drives me crazy about those stories is that they're taken from, or they're created out of one throwaway comment in an interview for a completely different project, where they're yeah, it's kind of like Batman, and then the interviewer goes, "Oh, Batman, that would be cool. Would you ever have any interest?" And they're like, "Yeah, if they called, because who the hell would say no if they called? Yeah, I'll take that call and figure it out."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, Keanu Reeves wants to play Batman."
Yeah, they make huge headlines, the clickbait of it. But I mean, we know that's been around forever, but it just seems like it's the same story. They're just throwing different names and movie titles into it, and it's getting kind of I don't care. Tell me when they're cast. I don't care what they want to do.
There's a lot of things I want to do that I'll never get cast for. Just saying. Yeah.
True.
Not with that attitude.
Jeff, what do you got for us?
I actually don't have a rant. I was just actually kind of
Mr. Positivity over there.
And I think a lot of people miss in the fact that I do have younger kids. We live in this absolutely incredible golden age of entertainment. There's nothing even close. There's nothing comparable. Just the fact that the 4 of us can sit down here today and spend, this much time talking about this kind of stuff. It's pretty fucking amazing when you think about it. I mean, the fact that like 4 of us are sitting here and there's these huge projects and shows, and some of us haven't watched them because we're watching 3 other different things going on. I don't know. I think we sometimes lose track of that, and the amazingness of being able to sit down. And I guess my rant of that is I quit using paywalls as a reason that like something failed, because you could still take every streaming service and it's nowhere near what my Comcast bill used to be. You know what I mean? So it's not even close. So just grab all the shit and watch it. Stop making that as an excuse. But I just changed that there. Yeah,
I'm gonna remember that next time what series we're going to be reviewing. When you say I don't have that,
half the time it's sitting down and just being like, oh, I gotta grab that. Yeah.
It's really funny. Like my dad recently was talking about his Comcast bill and how big it is and how much he hates it and he wants to get rid of it. And he's like, I just want to do the streaming services. I was like, well, you do know that a few of your streaming services are attached to Comcast, right? Like that's why you have them. That's why we can stream this stuff. And I said we, and he goes, what do you mean we? I said, oh, my brother, my sister-in-law, me, like we all use it to get like live sports and stuff like that. He's like, what the fuck?
I mean, you get Peacock for free with Xfinity, so
it's true.
Reason enough to keep your cable.
Yeah.
All right, so I have a rant here, and
ready?
I usually have stupid rants, but I want to dive into this one, and let me preface this where it's coming from a little bit. So I have been getting a lot of comments where people are like just bitching and moaning about any movie that has a person of color or a woman in it, basically saying it's woke and stuff like that. So here's my rant that I want to get into. Specifically and significantly, this has been happening around Prey, complaining about the film being woke, a term that is literally defined as being aware of injustices and oppression in society, starting with racial oppression back in the 60s. Star Wars The Force Awakens was called woke because of the inclusion of Daisy Ridley as the main character, as Rey. And then John Boyega's Finn, a black man, in support. Black Panther, simply existing as a movie, was called woke, even though it was the first Marvel film led by a black male or black man, as well as the 18th film in the MCU. So they got woke in the 18th film. The Batman this year was accused of being woke because of Paul Dano's Riddler targeting the elite, Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman referring to white privileged assholes, and the fact that Zoe Kravitz said that she played her character as though she was bisexual. Disney includes LGBTQIA characters in blink and you'll miss them moments. And most recently in Lightyear, they got a lot of shit for it because it was a minor thread with the captain that Buzz Lightyear really admired and really was friends with, even though Lightyear itself was a shitty movie and that's why it didn't do so well. But anyway, the Moses Ingram was just literally threatened with her life for simply appearing in Obi-Wan in the series. So just think about the films as well that get review bombed before they even come out. Captain Marvel was one of them. And She-Hulk, the show, just got review bombed before it even came out as well. So it's becoming ridiculous, and this is not a popular statement and will turn people away. We're not a political podcast, but I'm going to go there for a second. But if there isn't a white male in the lead, fanboys on the internet are very upset. And this is coming from a white male. All 4 of us are white males on this podcast right now. This is it's just kind of disgusting to me now. The wanton disregard and intentional ignorance of the real world and the people within it. From these people that turn into keyboard warriors to complain about a strong woman in Comanche Nation overcoming the disregard of her tribe and using her talents to ultimately defeat an alien presence in the Predator in a fictional fucking movie is just exhausting to me. And just because black people were traditionally left out of leading roles, women were cast in 1950s gender roles, the existence of the LGBT community has been largely ignored in film, doesn't mean that the world is the same way. Films are beginning to accurately reflect the world around us, and studies have shown, we've talked about this on this podcast, that those films and ones that are representative of the actual society and where people can see themselves are ultimately more successful. So it's actually in the studio's best interest to pursue this. But it's because of the authenticity, the power of diverse storytelling, that these are successful. Sure, some do it better than others. You're going to get shitty movies that try to go too far with something, or it's too on the nose, and their intended messages are just like smacking you in the face. But some films are better than others. That is your right to like a film, to not like a film. We know that some are going to be better than some others. It's going to happen. That's okay. We're going to make it through it. I don't want to watch the same story over and over again, nor do I want to watch old societally accepted behaviors depicted in films of today. Some may be comfortable with that, but it's clear that the majority are not. The world has evolved and continues to do so. Film is doing the same. Every movie is not made for every person. I repeat, every movie is not made for every person. You are not an asshole if you like a movie or don't like a movie that another person does or does not like. You have every right not to watch something or like it, but your bigoted reasoning and attempted explanations are best left to yourself. Probably not online. That's probably not a great look. The true issue with being woke is this. It challenges the generations long accepted status quo, and that's uncomfortable, and people don't know how to be uncomfortable without being threatened. Being woke doesn't take anything from you. It sees other people, and it seeks to push a more equal and accepting society. Soapbox. If recognizing the injustices and oppressions of the past, if telling diverse stories about underrepresented people, if representation itself is woke, then I'm woke as fuck, and you should probably just unfollow me because I'm about to stay woke. That is my rant.
Did you prepare that?
Yeah,
I did. I wrote it like 2.5 hours before because I was like, let's go.
But in all seriousness, like, you know, like when all of a sudden the movie scene is like daylight, it's just one of the...
Yeah, you got to go back to the whiteness. You got to go back to the whiteness.
I will say, like, it's one of the issues like I ran into online is I had a part of my review for Beast talk about how 20 years ago that would have been a white family. That would have easily been a white family, like vacationing in Africa instead of Idris Elba and his two daughters. And you know, some people got upset. It's like, why did you just make that political? I was like, no. Listen, like I'm talking about how like there's like we're witnessing a change here, and the movie wasn't just good because of that, but like it was like kind of way more amazing to see that representation, especially in that type of setting. And that was something that like blew my mind.
John, I think that goes the other way as well. And I think you kind of touch on that. Sometimes it's really bad writing and a really bad actor, and it has nothing to do. It goes the other way as well. Like, no, absolutely. I dislike this person because their acting is horrible. It has nothing to do with their race or culture or any of those types of things that come together with that. And I think we need to be open and, you know, stop looking at colors and things like that and come to a reality like, no, this is just, it's good or it's bad or it really shouldn't matter. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not like it because it's a bad story, not because of the story it's trying to tell. You know,
just trust me. There's so much garbage out there right now too, that there's a lot of things that are horrible. It's horrible.
100%. It's, you know, we had to say this during the Obi-Wan is that like you get criticized if you do criticize a character and they're of race, then you get sometimes you get called a racist, and there is a fine line where it's like if you're not like people can be racist when criticizing characters, but just because you're criticizing a character doesn't make you a racist, and that's you kind of get a lot of that blowback so quick early on because
we definitely did with the Obi-Wan.
I couldn't stand Reva's character. I thought the acting was awful. I thought the character was terrible, and you know we had to clarify that as far as like just because you're criticizing the character and the acting doesn't make you a racist. But there were people out there using, unfortunately, racial,
100%,
saying racist things to criticize it, which is not right. But it's like. You know, it's an interesting dynamic we're in with all this woke and that. And I hope you don't mind. I want to bring this because I want your opinion on this. I'm really good for this. With Anne Heche's recent death, it was interesting because when you go back to 6 Days and 7 Nights, she was originally cast in that film with Harrison Ford to play the love interest. She came out as lesbian during that time and was fired from the movie. Harrison Ford stood up and said, doesn't matter, we're actors. She can play a lead female love interest of mine because we're acting. That she can play something she is not, and she got her role back. Do you find it interesting in today's world? You've almost seen that shift completely 180, where actors now, if they're playing an LGBTQ character and not LGBTQ, there's a huge call out for them to be fired from that they shouldn't be allowed to play that role. Like, excuse me, have they kind of become what they were against in the beginning? Because you had a straight man stand up saying, no, we can act whatever we're not, get Anne Heche the role back. Now that community is completely taken, and turned to say, because who was it? Scarlett Johansson was going to play a transgender character. She lost that job because the transgender community came out and said, you can't play this because you're not that. So are we losing touch with what actors originally are to be things that they're not? Because
I think that's a great question. I mean, I would say Scarlett Johansson is not the best example because she has played a lot of roles that she shouldn't. Predominantly, I'm trying to think. Ghost in the Shell, was it?
Ghost in the Shell,
where,
yes. Yes.
But I would say
for that, you know what I mean? Like everyone's trying to get their job to do the job. But yes, go ahead. Yeah.
I would say with the LGBTQ community, and as someone that identifies as a gay male, the thing that's fascinating with that is, in the past, the issue has always been that people that came out and identified as part of the LGBTQ community. I always make fun of newscasters, by the way, when they're like about to talk about it and they're like, today at the LGBTQ, and then I try saying it fast and I'm like, the problem was that if you were out in Hollywood back in the day, you were not considered for roles, period. And so what part of today is like, look, there are a lot of great actors who can, we talk about emotional acting a lot. There are a lot of gay actors, lesbian actors, trans actors even, that can pour their souls into these roles and at least consider them. And they're not even they weren't getting a seat at the table for the longest time. I do agree that there's a lot of vitriol. Like, I mean, this is a terrible example because of number one, the individual, number two, the movie that Sean's going to make fun of me for here. But the musical of The Prom back, like I really enjoyed that. And James Corden played a gay character in that. And he wasn't gay, but like, there's also history of on Broadway, that happening. And, kind of like anyone can play a role on Broadway. I mean, you see it with Hamilton. There's there's white historical figures that are played by black men, and it's kind of just an open casting there. And I think that's one thing. I think at the end of the day with this conversation in wokeness, you have both ends of the spectrum on either side. There's people that are going to say like, you're not woke enough. If you do anything that doesn't go with my belief, you're against us. And then on the other side, it's like, if you try to be sensitive towards gender or race or anything like that you are you're too woke and you're pushing your ideals and you want to you're making me uncomfortable and all that shit, instead of just taking the time to like sit down, understand it, think through it, talk and move forward. And I think that's the crazy part. The problem is our history is what our history is, so any changes that happen now are going to be seen through whatever lens you want to see them through. And that is whether you're, the casting of a gay character or not. There's the Bros movie that's coming out is predominantly gay, a predominantly gay cast playing straight characters as well. But that was part of the intent of like, let's flip that on its fucking head because that's never happened.
That's awesome.
But I think, the Anne Heche thing is interesting because nobody should lose their job because of their identity.
No, and I agree. It was interesting to see like somebody fought to say that, but now it's kind of turned where people are fighting for people to get fired in the same kind of scenario. To me, it's I don't care. Like, you're acting, play the character well, and like I don't really care about your personal life, what you do. Like, if you're a good actor, we're here to see film and we're here to see this entertainment stuff. And I think sometimes
we're Tom Cruise fans. I don't care about the movie. There's anybody you want to say criticize, right?
But I would say one of the most successful, like Neil Patrick Harris. Like, that guy is
he can play anybody. I don't even think about
there's no point. We shouldn't even think about that.
I think the other piece I'd throw in there, and I'd be mad at myself if I didn't say this, is that back in the 90s, back in the 80s, anytime that a gay character was in a film, it was a stereotypical gay character, either extremely flamboyant, extremely flamboyant, dying of AIDS, or like sleeping around or whatever, and it was always a straight man playing the exaggerated character, right?
So let me ask you, when did that change? Was there a role that went?
I not to bring this back up again, I think television started to change that. I think Ellen started to change it. Will and Grace started to change it.
Grace was probably, and I always look back as that is a gigantic turning point. I think in everything, in all actually in complete. Will and Grace was, and I think as we look back into history and years from now, that will be cited as probably one of the most prominent film, whatever you want, cultural, just really cultural. It's such a defining, changing moment.
And you know what I'll also say and I don't want to belabor this point tonight because I could talk forever about it. But the other piece is, that's why coming out is so important, because when people have watched characters or actors, I should say, in stuff forever and didn't know or assumed they were straight or whatever, when they come out and they're hit with, oh, he was gay when I was watching him in that movie 25 years ago and I didn't know it. And I really like him. Is that okay that I really like him? It is okay that I really like him. Oh, okay. It's just,
no, okay. Yep.
It's part of that. So but I mean, that question is well taken. I mean, I see that I have debates with friends of mine where they're like, I can't believe they cast so-and-so in the role. I'm like, well, he played it really well, so I'm okay with it. But I also understand both sides of it. I just don't subscribe to it.
Right.
And the internet needs stuff to bitch about. So, hopefully some people that don't agree with this conversation tonight, hopefully they find some stuff to bitch about and comment on, either on YouTube or on Twitter or Instagram.
Plenty of opportunities. So.
Yes, yeah. Hey, as long as they watch it, that's all that matters. So.
Give us those views, give us those comments, and make sure you follow and smash that subscribe button. Guys, it was so great having you on. I want to ask, let people know where they can find you, and so we can push people towards your pages.
Thank you. We are all forms of social media at Attack on Show. Our content is YouTube based, which you can find us Attack on Show. But now that Attack of the Show is back, you're going to have to hit the filter channel button, and we'll be the first channel that pops up at that point. Otherwise, we get buried by Attack of the Show content now. But if you follow us on all forms of social media at Attack on Show, we'll link you to the YouTube page easily that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys. We appreciate it.
This is great. We love you guys' stuff. So this is I haven't slept all week out of excitement.
Well, guys, you're always welcome back. I think we had a great time speaking for Sean himself. Sean, now follow Math Teacher Movies too, guys, because his stuff. He puts out more content than anyone. So
my wife hasn't seen me in days. He's worried about me.
Your watch list has been nuts.
It has been nuts.
Guys, once again, thanks for being here, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
The Guy at the Movies podcast is a joint venture between Math Teacher Movies and Guy at the Movies. You can catch new episodes weekly right here wherever you're listening to this one. Subscribe so you never miss a beat.